turn 1.
Michael Andretti also using that Ford XD power. Notice the lack of steering input from the steering wheel. Andretti watches Zanardi disappear on the back straightaway.
And this is very hard for a driver because Michael would like to run in 5th gear right now and keep up with the guys that are up in front of him, go for the Honda Power cars. But he also has to get to the end, so that means putting the car in top gear in 6th gear, conserving the revs, conserving fuel, and especially since he knows that 2 cars have been out of the field so far already in this race, and both of them are identical motors, of which he is running.
We've got a battle a little bit further back as Robbie Gordon goes underneath Emerson Fittipaldi, taking over 7th spot. And Gilles de Ferran coming up as well. Emo appears to be losing speed on the banking.
And he does. Both those guys have moved up quite well from their starting positions. I think Robbie was back in 21st position, and Gilles de Ferran, I think, was also back in the teens. Both of them having disappointing qualifying runs, but with the time delay that we had between qualifying and the race here, a lot of cars have found speed over this last week or two.
Alex Zanardi passes his teammate Jimmy Vasser, and we have a new leader here at Michigan. See them running nose to tail. The aerodynamic toe effect, so important on this 2-mile racetrack.
Very, very important. And there again, the Honda power plant is just so dominant on these super speedways. Now it makes you wonder if these guys are both in top gear and 6th gear, or if Jimmy's decided to go ahead and just leave it in top gear, maybe conserve some fuel. Makes you wonder if Zanardi's running in 5th, and you don't know what the orders are from the pits. I'm sure that these guys are all out racing right now and just trying to get pulled away from the guys that are back behind them. Being teammates, these guys would certainly run 1 and 2 and run a total like we see in NASCAR and just leave the pack behind if they could do such a thing.
Here's Michael Andretti, still shown in 3rd place. His own piece of racetrack right now. Vasser ahead of him, Bobby Rahal behind him. 1991 Series champion who won his 31st career IndyCar win in our most recent round at Nazareth, Pennsylvania. What better place to win than on your home track? There's Bobby Rahal, running in 4th.
And we see his teammate, Brian Herta, who started up in the front row, is actually cured any problems that he had on the start, or on the restart, if you will. And he's right behind his team owner, Bobby Rahal.
Rahal, perhaps one of the most comfortable teams with their sponsorship. Little Bird Company recently announced they'd be with Bobby Rahal through the turn of the century. Let's get down to pit lane. Jan, what have you got?
Well, you guys were just talking about with the 2 Ganassi cars, were they both running in 5th or 6th gear? I asked that very question of Tom Anderson, the team manager, and he said both of the cars are out there at the moment in 6th gear.
All right, thanks, Jan. Look at Gilles de Ferran run. He has gone around Robbie Gordon. That puts him up into the 6th spot.
And feeling very comfortable with his car, if you can recall, that we changed that whole rear corner and putting on some new suspension pieces and new uprights, and they were bleeding the brakes. And Gilles obviously has got a lot of confidence in his team, a lot of confidence in his car, because he's just starting to march forward.
Here's a guy who has really opened the eyes of racers in Europe to what you can do in the IndyCar Series here in America. Of course, I cover Formula 1 for ESPN. Everyone wants to know how Gilles de Ferran is doing. In fact, there's a lot of talk about de Ferran going back to Formula 1 to race with his old team mentor, Jackie Stewart, when he enters Formula 1 next year. He is very much a man on the boil in auto racing around the world right now, doing a great job for Jim Hall and Pennzoil.
Got some great passing going on there. You saw Greg Muir run the high line through turns 1 and 2, get around the outside of Gilles de Ferran, and get a good run going down into turn 3, and he's actually left Gilles behind a little bit, and he's starting to move further forward and taking the run up towards Robbie Gordon.
We have a yellow flag and a debris flag from the flag stand. We'll see how stiffly the wind is blowing here behind the drivers as they make their way across the start-finish line. That will certainly add some revs as they head down into turn 1. Ride with Robbie Gordon as he slows down. Marty Reed has more on Emerson Fittipaldi's situation.
Oh, I'll tell you what, guys, these guys have got a big smile on their face. Their car had gone really loose, and they are now going to be able to benefit from this yellow, bringing him in without going down a lap. I don't think I've seen Carl Hogan smile this big in a long time.
Thanks very much, Marty. There is the debris on the racetrack. Boy, at these speeds, are drivers able to pick up something that small, Scott?
Well, you certainly can if you can actually see it if you're coming out of a turn looking down the straight. But the key thing here is that if you get into the turn 1 or 3 and you're going so fast and the debris is further around the turn like it is here in turn 2, very hard and very difficult to pick up.
We ride with Christian Fittipaldi, who has made a pit stop. I don't believe the pits were open there. You see the plus sign, meaning that the pits are now open. But Christian came in while they were closed. Now, if it wasn't an emergency stop, he may find himself in a penalty situation. But as it is, he will have to make his way around to the back of the line. And that could become a factor later in the race. Now the pits are open. Here come the cars. Once again, virtually everybody running on the lead lap, so everyone will pit.
Now the key thing to watch here is the order as they come in is Zanardi, Vassar, and Michael Andretti. Which team is going to have the fastest stop here and get their guy out in the lead? Although it may not be of great importance right now, it certainly will be as soon as the guys get towards the end of the race and you're looking for any advantage you can get, whether it's on the track or in the pits.
Jimmy Vassar with glasses on under his visor appears to be done and out, and we've got lots of cars leading now. Andre Ribeiro right out there by the wall. Michael Andretti has stalled and refired now in the pits. That's not the first time that's happened to him this year.
Well, he stalled at Nazareth and came back and won the race, so maybe this might be an omen here today.
He's lost some positions, though. You see him coming out behind Emerson Fittipaldi. Michael pitted from third spot. He has a number of positions behind that back now as everyone gets back out. The pit lane is clear once again. We have 4 different safety cars in operation today, representing the 4 different engine manufacturers in IndyCar: Mercedes-Benz, Toyota, Honda, and Ford. You see the numbers on Michael Andretti. The green flag in just a moment. After this word, we'll be back with more live from Michigan. Alex Zanardi now up front.
These days, you're working harder than ever. You need a truck that does too.
Don't move.
Introducing the all-new 1997 Ford F-150. With even more horsepower and torque, and all the legendary strength of an F-Series.
Better get to the Grand Canyon before we do.
The all-new Ford F-150.
This is your company. This is the local utility. This is Indec Energy Services, Inc. Get the picture? Indec can build a cogeneration or independent power plant for your company. Imagine totally independent power. It's like never having to make a pit stop. Indec, proud sponsor of Greg Moore's car number 99.
Who's got the winning color?
Pennzoil is proud to be an official sponsor of the inaugural US 500.
Welcome back to Michigan. Bob Varsha along with Scott Goodyear, James Allen, Marty Reed, and Jan Bikas. Glad to have you with us on this Memorial Day weekend. You ride with Robbie Gordon as we await the green flag for a restart following a yellow brought out by debris on the track. Now, Christian Fittipaldi pitted before the pits were open and ran over his air hose, so he will be penalized by a drive-through of the pit lane. And at the 80-mile-an-hour pit speed, you can imagine that will cost him some time. Now we're having our first double file start. Gary Bettenhausen leads the slower cars down on the inside, while the race leader, Mauricio Gugelmin, leads the cars on the lead lap. Down to the start they come in good order. And Roberto Moreno attacks immediately to go around Gugelmin.
Some great drafting going on in the restart there. Roberto just sat back, got a good toe. He's using the XB engine, not the most powerful engine that's out there, but he got a good toe and a good shot right up towards the front.
A veteran, one of the most personable guys in racing. Visited Monaco with him for the Formula One race. He took us around town, showed us all the sights. And now here he is, 10 years after his last appearance on the high banks of Michigan. He drove a March Ford Cosworth back then. Here he is rocketing around for Peyton Coyne Racing, and he has the lead in the inaugural US 500.
I'm sure this is a thrill for Dale Coyne and Walter Payton. Both those guys called me when I was in the hospital in Brazil, and Walter Payton gave me some great advice. He said, I've had a lot of injuries in my football career, and the ones that I've let rest, they've never haunted me again. The ones I've rushed are still with me today.
Ford 17 battling over third place. That's Alex Zanardi dueling with Mauricio Gugelmin. Now Gugelmin comes up behind Roberto Moreno. Christian Fittipaldi has served his drive-through penalty. He's back on the racetrack. Mauricio Gugelmin took a little time to get up to speed, but now he appears to be at full tilt.
He sure does. I think in the background there, I see one of the Target Honda cars starting to work their way back up through the group of the guys that did not pit, like Marino and Gugelmin and Blundell. It's probably Alex Zanardi, who did come in and get his car serviced in that last yellow. So he's at a bit of an advantage right now.
At the top of your screen, you see the information being provided to us from our friends at EDS, the laps remaining, the gaps between the various cars, and the running order. There you see Roberto Moreno onto the backstretch, launching down, following in the tow as the cars snake down at top speed in excess of 240 miles an hour. Jan Bikas.
I have a quick update for you on the Ganassi situation, because both Alex Zanardi and Jimmy Vasser came in at the same time. Jimmy Vasser actually had a faster pit stop, but then he killed the engine. That allowed Zanardi to get out first, and as you said, Zanardi right now working quickly through the field.
Zanardi took a look under Roberto Moreno, and he drops back into line as they come rocketing off the high banks onto the flat back straightaway.
Hovering right behind Zanardi is rookie Greg Moore. He's doing just a great job, and I think his team got him in and out of the pits the quickest, because when we came back to green, I think it was Greg Moore that actually led the guys that had pitted. So obviously he got in and out of the pits quite quickly. His team serves his car maybe a little quicker than the two Target cars.
Once again, Zanardi goes underneath but can't get it done. The running order is Gugelmin, this battle Moreno and Zanardi, then Greg Moore, then Jimmy Vasser rounding out the top 5. Mark Blundell, Gilles de Ferran, Bobby Rahal, Andre Rivero, and Robbie Gordon round out your top 10. And Brian Herta, Eddie Lawson, Michael Andretti back in 13th. Jeff Krosnoff and Raul Boiso.
Zanardi got a great tow from Roberto Moreno and just slipped on the underneath side of him going into 3. Say Greg Moore is doing the same. Just getting a tow in the deep portion of the oval, running along the high side, going through turns 1 and 2.
Hiro Matsushita moving very slowly down to the inside. He had a long pit stop. He's running well behind the field at this point. We watch Roberto Moreno of Brazil in the data control Lola Ford Cosworth XB. From the flag stand, cars flash by 225, 230 miles an hour. As you look at Greg Moore, there's Moreno, and then Vasser. Ride with Gilles de Ferran. Vasser comes up on Moreno for 4th. Track is so wide and so smooth. Gives the drivers a lot of room to maneuver. Zanardi rushes up in the tow behind race leader Mauricio Gugelmin and passes him to the low side.
A nice clean pass, about 5 or 8 miles an hour faster going into turn 1. Makes you wonder if it's that Honda power, along with getting a good draft going into the turn.
Jan Bikas in the pits.
While you're looking at Mauricio Gugelmin, I can tell you that judging by what we can see how many laps they've run, everyone here on pit road thinks that you can't run more than 38 to 40 laps. He just gets passed by Greg Moore, but he will have to slide down into pit lane in less than 5 laps. At the moment, we're working lap number 37. They say 38 to 40 is about all you can do, but of course you have to add in a little for the yellow flag period.
Thanks very much, Jan. There you see lap time comparisons for Greg Moore. Lap speeds, I should say. Tremendous speed, calling for the utmost in concentration. Here's our EDS timing and scoring. Gugelmin and Zanardi. Now Gugelmin about to come under fire from Jimmy Vasser. And that would be for 3rd place.
All these guys knowing they got a long race to run. Sit back, pick your time, don't get too excited. Don't find yourself on the high side of a competitor when you're coming out of the turns, either 2 or 4, and get pinched against the wall.